If your foundation and your concealer look like this, then your whole makeup look could just be completely ruined. I'm gonna be breaking down foundation do's and don'ts. So I'm focusing on commonly made mistakes that you're probably making that are ruining your makeup looks. This used to be me when I used to apply my foundation and concealer. It would look good at first, but after a couple hours of wearing my makeup, it would be patchy, cakey, and just all kinds of horrible. But that's because I wasn't understanding how to apply the two together in order to create that perfect makeup base. But after watching this video, I promise you will feel much more confident in applying your foundation and your concealer to create the perfect makeup base. Always avoid matching your foundation to your neck. My neck is typically lighter than the skin on my face, so I never match my foundation on my neck because I'm gonna go in with a lighter shade. Some people have darker necks and lighter faces, so matching your foundation to your neck is going to give you a darker foundation. So instead of trying to match your foundation to your neck, always match it on your skin. So I always like to match it on the lower half of my face because it allows me to compare the foundation to the rest of my skin. Now it does appear a little bit lighter because it's not blended out, but the key is to always make sure that the undertone of the foundation perfectly matches the rest of your face. The foundation on this side is way too orange. It doesn't match my natural undertone. You don't really see the difference between the foundation on my jawline area and my cheekbones because after swatching it out on my jawline and comparing it to my cheekbones, I could tell that that undertone was perfect. When it comes to applying foundation, it is so important to pay attention to the parts of your skin that tends to either be oily, separate, move around, or the makeup just does not stay on your skin well, such as your T-zone area, your laugh lines, under your eyes, and sometimes just on your nose. These are the parts of your skin where you have to be extremely careful in the amount of products that you're applying in order to let the makeup settle really well on your skin. I'm going in with the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. I love this one because it's long wearing. A long wearing foundation is typically going to oxidize and settle on your skin because once you apply it on your skin, it stays put. I also love this because it's an oil controlling foundation, so when you apply it, it blends like a dewy foundation, but once it settles on your skin, it gives you a matte finish. So if you have problems with oiliness or just your makeup sliding around because of the oily texture, maybe you should give a foundation like this one a try. So you definitely want to avoid applying the foundation directly on the areas of your face that tends to separate, so around your T-zone, on your nose, and under your eyes. This is just going to create more creasing. It's going to create more cakiness because you're focusing too much coverage of the foundation on the areas of your skin that already don't grip the foundation well. So instead you want to focus the foundation away from only the parts of your skin where you have the most discoloration. Typically for me, it's on my jawline and just a little bit on my forehead. Applying the foundation only on these areas will prevent it from creasing, separating, even getting oily, because this part of your face doesn't have pores, so not a lot of oils come from that area. And as you can see, this side gives me a little bit of breathing area because I didn't apply any foundation on this area. It's not going to separate or get oily. It's just going to stay like this. This is also going to help you achieve a more natural and seamless foundation look compared to this side where you can actually see so much more of the foundation. Applying a thick and full coverage concealer all over your under eyes like this is what could cause your concealer to look really cakey. It can look good at first when you blend it out, but after a few hours, this can get extremely cakey. Now, I know this is how we used to always apply concealer, but like technology advances, makeup techniques also advance. As you can see, I don't need this much coverage. Going in with a lot of concealer at first could be really hard to blend, and after a couple hours, this right here, it's gonna look like a total mess. Instead of applying your concealer all over your under eyes, now I like to apply my concealer a little bit differently. So going in with the Rose Ink concealer in the shade LX30, I like to focus the concealer only on the areas where I see darkness because I want to brighten it up. As you can see, it's really just around this area, and I do have darkness on the outer corners of my eyes. So I just take this concealer and I put one dot here, about that much, and then I put another dot right there. This concealer is a full coverage concealer. It's a great concealer, don't get me wrong, but it's very easy to get heavy-handed with concealer. As you can see, you couldn't tell that this has this much coverage. So it's always best to apply a little bit of concealer and just build it up to see if you need more coverage. And then I like to use a small applicator such as this small sponge to blend it out. And this allows you to be more precise at how you blend your concealer. It allows you to focus the concealer only around that darkness area instead of dragging it all the way down here like this side did. And as you can see, my under eyes look perfectly brightened up. You don't see any excess concealer around this area. It looks nice and seamless. Compared to the side where I just applied too much, I can work with this for a few hours, but this can get extremely cakey. It moves around, it creases. There's just too much going on with the concealer on this side compared to this side. I can guarantee you that this side can last much longer. It's not gonna crease as much and it's not gonna get cakey. Now, one mistake that you're probably making to your concealer is applying setting powder immediately you've applied your concealer, especially when the concealer is still wet and you can see that wetness. Doing this is going to absolutely destroy your concealer. It's going to get your under eyes to look extremely patchy. Never apply your loose setting powder or even pressed setting powder when your concealer is still wet. You want to wait a few minutes to let that concealer settle on your skin to the point where you don't see that it's wet. You can even touch it and feel that it's a little bit dry, and then you want to go in with setting powder. This is going to prevent your makeup from looking patchy or even cakey. As you can see, after a few minutes, this is getting patchier and patchier, and at the end of the day, this is gonna look extremely cakey. I know this looks a little bit exaggerated. You might not apply that much powder and you might not apply that much concealer, but it is important to see exactly what I'm talking about. So in order to avoid this from happening, you always want to let that concealer settle on your skin for a few minutes to the point where you don't see that it's wet. Then you want to take your powder, but you don't want to apply it directly on the concealer. I always swirl my powder at the back of my hand to smoothen it out on the powder puff. When you apply it directly on your skin, it can also create this patchiness. After swirling it at the back of your hand, you want to gently press that under your eyes, exactly where you apply the concealer, but I like to focus it closer towards my nose bridge, and this will allow the nose bridge area to be brighter, and then you want to diffuse it outwards towards the outer corners of your eye. And as you can see, swirling it at the back of the hand, it doesn't create any patchiness. It gives you a smooth under eye that looks really natural and stays like this all day long. Now, when you compare the two, you can see a significant difference in the coverage and the texture of the concealer and the setting powder. Compared to this side, it looks smooth. You don't see the difference. You don't see the concealer or the setting powder. They're both blended together beautifully to achieve a flawless under eye. Thick, creamy concealers under your eyes typically tend to give enough coverage to cover up darkness, and the good thing about them is you can build it up. So if you have really dark under eyes, you can add more. But when you use a thick full coverage concealer and then you go in with the full coverage powder, it really can get your under eyes to look super heavy and cakey. It also prevents it from lasting long because you just have two full coverage products that are laying on top of each other. It doesn't give a skin-like look, and it's not gonna feel breathable on your skin, which can cause your skin to react, such as causing your concealer to appear extremely cakey and creased under your eyes, which you don't want. After a few hours, this can appear extremely cakey because I don't need this much coverage and it's not allowing my under eyes to breathe. So instead, you want to give your under eyes a little bit of a balance. So if you're gonna go in with a full coverage concealer, such as this Urban Decay Quickie concealer, this is a really good hydrating concealer that you can build up, especially if you have dark under eyes. You want to go in with a light coverage setting powder, such as this Wet n Wild translucent setting powder. This is a finely milled setting powder that is extremely lightweight. It doesn't add too much coverage to your concealer. It gives it more of a natural finish. Applying these two products together is going to give your skin more of a balance. It's not going to be cakey at the end of the day because you're allowing your skin to breathe because you're using a light coverage powder and a full coverage concealer, giving it a good balance. But if you're not somebody who has too much darkness under your eyes and you're looking to to use more of a brighter setting powder to brighten up your under eyes, I would recommend going in with a light coverage concealer, such as this L'Oreal True Match concealer, and then go in with a full coverage brightening powder, such as this Kimchi Puff Puff Pass powder. I love using this powder if I'm looking for a brighter under eye. And when you compare the differences between the two, this is just looking a little bit too excess. You can see that excess powder. You can see that it just looks like too much coverage compared to this side where I still get that full coverage, but because I went in with a lightweight powder, it's not giving me a flashback and it doesn't look too much. This feels extremely comfortable on my skin compared to this side where it just feels extremely uncomfortable. Another mistake that's commonly made is not knowing when to bake and when not to bake, and that could completely ruin your makeup look. That's why you have to watch this video, because in this video I break down the differences between baking and not baking and exactly which one's perfect for you.
KLJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'.